Hello, guys, and welcome to episode 3 of All NBA 24/7. My name is Rishi Kapoor, and I am your host. On today's episode, we're going to be talking about the 2018 Naismith Memorial Basketball Hall of Fame class, which include the likes of Jason Kidd, Steve Nash, Ray Allen, and Grant Hill. Four players that I grew up watching and idolizing and playing as in video games. Some of the greatest passers, shooters, and defensive players of all time. And we're just going to be, talking about what they did in their career and why they are so deserving of making it to the Hall of Fame. So first off, I'd like to start off with Jason Kidd. Jason Kidd, this guy was a walking triple-double back in his day with the New Jersey Nets, Dallas Mavericks, and he even had a stint in Phoenix as well. But he was a walking triple double. He was a guy that could score the ball, rebound the ball, pass the ball, steal the ball. Great defender. Was not known as a shooter coming out of California. And coming out of college, he was not known as a great shooter, but developed into one of the best, 3-point shooters, and actually is on the top 10 list in terms of 3-point field goals made. So, he was just an unbelievable player, an unbelievable leader, great passer. He threw so many no-look passes. He was the kind of player that knew a play was going to happen before it happened. And he was just very, very tenacious and a great player. He was averaging in his prime something like 16 points, 9 rebounds, 9 assists, and in the playoffs doing the same thing. His game went to another level in the playoffs, and he just accomplished so many things in the NBA and had such a great NBA career. And he is very, very well deserving, of being in the Hall of Fame. Next up is Ray Allen. Ray Allen, 10-time All-Star, 2-time NBA champion. Just a player, a marksman, a three-point shooter, one of the greatest three-point shooters of all time. Unfortunately, though, Stephen Curry has taken the title of being the greatest shooter of all time. But Ray Allen, you cannot deny the fact that this guy was a sniper. He was a shooter. His form, every shot he took, the form was the same. And every shot he took, it looked like it was going in all the time. And the majority of the time, it did go in all the time. He, hit over 2,900 three-point field goals, is currently first on the all-time three-point field goals made list. Stephen Curry is unfortunately on pace to pass it, but obviously nowadays is a different game. Players nowadays are taking a lot more threes. Had Ray Allen played a lot in his prime nowadays, that number would have been a lot more higher than 2,900. So the fact that he even pulled off over 2,900 three-point field goals in his time, where the three-point shot wasn't really focused, and the perimeter shooting wasn't focused really on a lot. That just says something about him. He was a great player, great defender, and just a great all-time player, and a very great defender and well deserving of the Hall of Fame. And the next up is Steve Nash. Steve Nash, a 2-time MVP. A lot of people say, the second MVP, Shaq, he deserved it, or Kobe and stuff. We can talk about all those things about how Shaq deserved it, Kobe deserved it, whatever. But the main fact is this man won two MVPs. He was just another, great floor leader, a coach on the floor. And just like Jason Kidd, threw no-look passes. And just like Jason Kidd, he knew a play was going to happen, before it transpired. And was just really like a great player, great three-point shooter, great leader, on the court. And he was averaging some like 18, 19 points, 10, 11 assists, go along with 4 rebounds. This guy was just an unbelievable player. Great ball handler. When the ball was in his hands, in the clutch, you knew that, he was not going to turn over, right? He was going to, secure the ball. He was going to handle the ball, and he was going to be a great floor leader and floor general. A coach's dream. A coach's dream is to have a player like Steve Nash, and he did a lot for Canadian basketball, as well. And he inspired so many kids here to play the game. He was on the Canadian national team. He's the manager of the Canadian national team now, and he really inspired a whole generation of players. A lot of the players nowadays, Corey Joseph, Kelly Olynyk, Tristan Thompson, they will all tell you that, hey, we grew up idolizing Steve Nash, and he gave us the vision that, hey, a player born in Canada, he can make it to the NBA. He can be successful in the NBA. Sorry, Steve Nash is not born in Canada, but he's Canadian. But he was born in Johannesburg, Africa, actually. But he is Canadian. His nationality is Canadian, so he's Canadian. But he gave the hope, and he gave the vision to Canadian players that hey, that we can go into the NBA and we could be successful. And he just did a lot for the game on and off the court, and he is very, very well deserving as well. And then next up is Grant Hill. And Grant Hill was a very, controversial pick. A lot of people were scratching their head, asking why did he make it. He obviously had a lot of injury-plagued seasons, and didn't really achieve a lot of success on the NBA floor than he did in the NCAA floor and in college. But the Naismith Memorial Basketball Hall of Fame is not just only about your accomplishments in the NBA, it's all about your accomplishments throughout your basketball career. That includes high school, college, and the pros. And in college, I mean, this dude was a monster. He was a two-time NCAA champion, and the NBA in his early start before the injuries with the Detroit Pistons. He was leading them to the playoffs, and I know they got bounced out of the first round, but the statistics that this man was putting up, he was putting up 22 points, 7 rebounds, 7 assists. He was putting up LeBron James like numbers, and he was LeBron James like before LeBron. And a lot of people, a lot of his peers, if you go and look at old highlights of him back on Detroit, I mean, he was just a monster and a great, great player. And then the injury started when he arrived in Orlando. He did end up having one or two seasons where he was healthy, but those seasons like right after Detroit, right when he was in his prime, unfortunately he had ankle injuries and career-threatening injuries. And also obviously had Tracy McGrady join Orlando, and we never got to see that duo. And that's one of the biggest what if questions. Like, what if Grant Hill stayed healthy and he was alongside T Mac? How far would the Orlando team go in the East? T Mac to this day questions, ask that question. But the main fact is, Grant Hill, he could easily said, "I quit. You know what? I'm going to stop playing basketball. I keep getting injured every season. I'm going to stop and I'm going to call it a career and I'm going to hang up my shoes." But this man persevered every year. He dealt with 4 straight injury-plagued seasons, injury after injury after injury after injury, and he could easily quit. But after each and every injury, he rehabilitated himself. He rehabbed like crazy. He was working out, and doing everything possible to get back on the court. And you got to commend, right, somebody like that. A player that doesn't quit, that doesn't let injuries, career-threatening, I might add, right, injuries stop his career. And he battled every year after every injury and got back on the court each and every year. I know he got injured again, but the fact that he got back on the court after each and every injury he has had, you've got to commend him for that. And then came Phoenix. He was obviously way past his prime. He was more of a role player, but he had healthy seasons in Phoenix. Was a great shooter for them. Hit big shots. Was just the complete role player and a veteran that the type of veteran that you want on your team. And those seasons in Phoenix and the later seasons in Orlando, those resurrected his career and got him to the Hall of Fame. I feel like had he quit after those seasons in Detroit when he went through his first ankle injury, then he wouldn't make it. But the man, the main fact is the dude scored over 17,000 points, has over 6,000 rebounds, and almost 5,000 assists. He built up a Hall of Fame resume through perseverance. And in the pros, he did get to the conference finals with Phoenix. That Phoenix Suns team, did get to the conference finals and did play well. And he was teammates with Steve Nash, and Steve Nash could first tell you that how great of a player Grant Hill was, and how much of an important player Grant Hill was. So just an accumulation of everything, what he did in college and his perseverance, and what he did achieve in the pros. In my opinion, he is deserving of being in the Naismith Memorial Basketball Hall of Fame. Because any other player, would have quit after having how many injuries he's had. He persevered over 3-4 injuries, and they were career-threatening injuries. They were not very light injuries. They were like, him missing like a whole entire season, him playing like 5-6 games. Those are the kind of injuries that he dealt with. The fact that he persevered through all of those injuries just, shows how much of, a mentally strong, player that he was. um, and how great he was. So by saying all of that, an accumulation of everything, I feel like he is well deserving. So this is a great Hall of Fame class, the 2018 class. I know I am, forgetting to mention some names, but these are four players that I grew up idolizing, that I played as in video games. I'm very happy that each of them made it, and they're all very well deserving. And this class will be remembered as one of the best classes, one of the best Hall of Fame classes of all time. Thank you guys for joining me on this episode. Remember to like, comment, and subscribe, and let me know your thoughts in the comment section below on who you believe is deserving or not deserving out of these four and why. Don't just give me biased answers, give me legitimate facts of why you think these guys are deserving or not deserving. But in my opinion, they all are deserving and all are great players. Thank you guys for joining me, and I'll see you next time.